Okay, well, just on cue, this dog has decided to start barking. I might have to pop up for just a second, let him out. He's seeing the dogs across the street, but it's okay. Hey, come on, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Should go out? All right, well, without further distraction, now he'll bark to come back in. Watch that. Okay, well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Grace. Hi, let's see who. Oh, hi, John.
Hey
Hi.
Andy, how's it going?
Good, good, good. Thanks for joining us today on this Minnesota snow day. Um, I don't know. So you know who I am. I don't know if I need to introduce myself or not. I'm Andy Harwood. I'm co-owner of the Vaz+Harwood team, along with Shareline, and Nora is here, and also Alyssa and Andrina, who are two realtors on our team. So we kind of have a full house today. This is fun. I love it. Um, so this class is all about our highest dollar per hour activities and kind of how to get some leverage and how to maintain some focus. Because when I first got into the business, I think all these things come at you, right? There's all these activities, and what do you need to focus on, and what should you leverage? And it's really hard to kind of know what's more important than other things. Um, I've been wanting to put this class together for a long time, and I'm glad I finally had the chance. Um, we will send out the deck as usual after this, so if that's helpful, Nora will send an email with all of the stuff in it. Um, so I want to start out just by talking about the concept of dollar per hour. And this is something that if you, I'm not saying you need to obsess about it, but if you just kind of keep an eye on it and think about the things that are filling your calendar in your day, it's easy to kind of lose sight of what activities are more valuable than others. And everything really kind of does have a dollar per hour associated with it. So if you think about how much money you make, let's just say in a year or any particular time period, and then the amount of hours that are worked in that time period, it's super simple math. It's just dividing the two numbers, nothing more to it than that. So if you assume that there's a 40-hour work week nominally, and that's a little bit of a fiction when we work for ourselves, right? But let's just say that for the sake of argument. If there's 50 weeks in a year, there's 52 weeks, but we take vacations. We're not going to work every single day. So just assume, because it makes it round numbers, that there are 50 weeks that we're working, 40 hours. There are 2,000 hours in a year, business time. And if we think about, we have 2,000 hours available, but all the activities that we do don't necessarily have the same value. They can be kind of weighted one way or the other. And one good way to think about this is if you could hire somebody else to do it, what would you have to pay them? Would that be a $15 an hour job? Would it be a $100 an hour job? What would it be? So you can always kind of apply those two things backward. What's the dollar per hour? And if you had to pay somebody, if I wasn't doing it and I paid somebody, what would that time be worth? So think about also your top 20%. We talk about this all the time, right? There's of the kind of the 80-20 rule. So this kind of puts it in perspective that even though we have 40 hours in a week, the top 20% of your activities should be where you're focusing, and that time is worth a lot more. So just to use round numbers, because it makes it come out easier to understand, let's just say that as a realtor, you're making $100,000 gross before taxes, before splits, whatever. And that 2,000 hours of work, that breaks down into about $50 an hour. But the top 20% of it is only 400 hours. That's $250 an hour time. And that's not only what you could focus on, but you could do more with the rest of the time to use that for the more valuable activities. So you can see that all time isn't equal. And why should you be doing the $250 an hour work? It's because you do own the business. Everyone in real estate is self-employed, in who are realtors. You're assuming all the risk. You've got to pay taxes. You're not getting a consistent paycheck. You're not getting benefits and bonuses and things like that. So you deserve it. We all deserve it because we're all self-employed. So take the opportunity for what it is being in this business, and just always stay focused on what's that top 20%. Is my advice. So I want to think about a good analogy. Whenever I find myself kind of deviating, I think about other experiences I have at other businesses, and the simplest one I can think of is just going to the dentist or the doctor's office or something like that. The dentist comes in at the end for like 5 or 10 minutes, right? Reviews your x-rays, pokes at your teeth a little bit. And but actually the dentist is doing the highest dollar per hour work. Somebody else checks you in, somebody else sets your appointment, somebody else came in and cleaned your teeth, somebody else sent you a bill. You know, you can apply this to your real estate business, and whether you have employees, or we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But just think about how ridiculous it might be if you went to the dentist and the dentist is there at the reception desk, and then the dentist is doing the billing, and it doesn't make sense, right? No one would make a living that way. So just it's amazing how in real estate we just seem to think we need to wear all the hats. I don't know why. I don't know why we do that. We do so many things as realtors, just tons and tons of activities. I mean, everything from we could make a list 10 times this long, right? Of things that we can do. But really, I think that to kind of get down to the meat of this, I think there are really 4 things that are the highest dollar per hour activities for us. And Keller Williams, I got this from KW, and I've heard people say 5 things or 6 things or 3 things or whatever. So don't worry about the number. I think this is just kind of where I land with it personally. What our top 20% is real estate agents. Number 1 is, of course, lead generating. This is, of course, absolutely essential. I don't have to sell that idea to anybody or lecture too much about it. But and I think at KW we kind of we're always talking about this, right? And it's just baked into our culture from the MREA book to everything we do. But it's amazing how many people in real estate really don't understand that the business side of it is completely a lead generation business. That's got to be always the number one thing is lead generating. So that is our job. That's totally our job. Looking at it from the business perspective, we have to keep the leads coming in constantly. And as soon as we get lost in other things, then we actually don't have a business. We don't have business stability. We don't have volume and revenue and all that kind of thing. So that's got to be number 1 if you're in real estate. And this is actually not the hardest thing in the business, I think. I think the hardest thing is the lead follow-up. And I think it's the place where we trip the most and where I hear people having the most trouble. I generated a lead, but now I'm not sure how to follow up, or that lead hired somebody else and I found out about it later. I think it's our Achilles heel. But it's So I don't put these as the one and two most important things. They're probably right at the top together of generating and follow up. These are the things we should be doing. So do we have a good system for lead follow up? Are we doing it consistently every day? Are we staying on top of our pipelines? All of that kind of thing. The third thing, going on appointments. This is not something we can outsource. We can't have an assistant go on our appointments. This is go time for us. It's performance time. I play the guitar, and I practice, but then when there's a show to play, that's performance, right? And that's what going on the appointment is. And that's why we practice role playing and scripting and objections and all of that kind of stuff, so that when we get a turn at bat or we get a show to play, we're there 100%. And this is where it's going to determine how many appointments to sign contracts we're actually going to get to, what that ratio is. Is it 50% for you? Can you get it up to 70 or 80% by doing better at the appointments when you get the opportunity? Negotiating. This is something we can't outsource too. We have the license, and this is really what we get paid for. It's what the customer pays us for. So when I hear people complaining about how hard a negotiation was, or what a pain in the neck it was or something, I think, well, that's what they're paying us for, or how much trouble this transaction was. And thank goodness, actually, it is challenging, because if it was simple, no one would need us, and we could get replaced by a bot or AI software or something like that. But it's too complicated. This is why we make the money we do, and it's what our clients are expecting from us. So I think it's really those four things: lead generating, follow up, going on appointments, and negotiating offers. And you could argue there's a couple other things in there too. But I think if you want to boil it down to the main things, this is really all we should have to do in a perfect world. Notice I really didn't say anything about a lot of other activities that we do, such as doing paperwork, writing offers, all of that stuff can be done by somebody else if you choose to leverage it. So I'm going to get into some of that more mundane stuff, ordinary, typical stuff, but I want to spend a few minutes just mentioning a few things that I see a lot of people in real estate doing. And I'm not meaning this to come off critical of anybody or disrespectful to anyone's approach or business. This is my opinion. But I see a lot of realtors out there doing these kind of activities. And if I could just be the devil's advocate, I think the time cost is very high. I think it sets realtors up, a lot of these things, it sets them up for a lot of liability. And if people would focus on the other activities, they'd make a lot more money and have a simpler, more efficient business, and make a lot more per hour for the time and energy. And again, I don't want anybody to be mad at me, because I know realtors stage houses sometimes. If you're going to stage houses, I'd recommend you really take it seriously and have an additional staging business, and really do it at a high level, so that you can achieve some kind of an economy of scale and make it a profit center. If that's what you want to do, if you want to have a real estate business and a staging business, that would be my recommendation. But I see a lot of realtors like bringing in staging furniture and messing with knickknacks and helping the customer with how to arrange their cabinets and stuff like that. And there's no money in it. I mean, we have a great stager who does all that stuff, and it's a relatively small amount relative to the listing. If I went over and tried to do that, or Sherilyn went over and tried to do that stuff, that would be time that we wouldn't have to do the other things, and it's time consuming. And the other thing is that we don't have to be the bad guy. We get somebody who's an intermediary between us and the client, who can counsel the client about the big orange wall that should be repainted. That's their favorite color. Or how much clutter and stuff they have, and how to navigate that. The dog just walked in again. Hi.
One,
So
I think,
yeah, go ahead, Shirley.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were still talking about the dog. One of the biggest things that I find frustrating, this is my personal opinion again, because I've heard this directly from clients when we had agents on our team. Oh, I love staging. I'm going to do this for my clients. And of course, realtors on our team are welcome to do what they want. However, we've been in situations where we've asked for feedback, and then the client will call us up instead of calling the agent up, and they start seeing the agent as well, they have well, some of the stuff that's told to us is not even very respectful of the agent, And here's the important thing: as a license, what I'm getting at is you're a licensed realtor. You have fiduciary duties. And if you want to be respected as a realtor, there's a certain amount of responsibility that comes with that. How you portray yourself to your client is absolutely very, very, very critical. There's a reason why people out there why the general public has very little respect for realtors. And the more in the beginning, I thought all that was cute, the staging and all that kind of stuff. But very quickly, I was very lucky that I was trained by Julia Lachey, a phenomenal, who was my productivity coach at the time. And she just said, what do you want to be respected as? A furniture mover or a realtor? Because your job as a real estate agent is to represent your client because you have a license, that there's a legality behind that. B, your job is to negotiate. That's why you're getting paid the kind of money. You're not being paid to tell a client that, oh, you need to switch the orange curtains out and just put white. Make sense?
You couldn't have made my point better. The client, because then the
Same
client.
thing with photography. I've had photography.
I'm getting to that. Hold on.
All right.
we got one in for photography. Okay, you're talking to somebody here who I have literally been on the roof of a house painting the eaves for a VA loan because there was peeling paint, and if we didn't paint it, the thing wouldn't close. I have been up there with a paintbrush, risking my life. And I had this moment, this realization when I was up there doing this. Is probably in like year 1 or 2 or something like that. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm up here slapping paint on this house. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this cannot be right. And I never did it again, and I will never do it again. So it's the client's house. They have to hire people to do this stuff. And this goes in the category with, I know a lot of realtors try to be very service oriented and arrange repairs and things like that, or go over and do the repairs. Now look, we had an older couple, their doorknob was broken, and I fixed their doorknob, and I felt good about it. But I didn't have the heart to, we probably should have just sent a handy person over to do that one. Honestly, there's liability working on people's houses. We're not contractors. We're not licensed for that. And we can get into trouble. So I would stay away from it. I really would.
There have been situations where I don't even want to mention the realtor, but he got sued for a lot of money because I don't know what he was doing, but he damaged the walls. And then, of course, his client was entitled to say, yes, I want that painter that charges $10,000. And there was no proof. The client just had the right to do that. Because you're going in, damaging someone else's house. It's not your house. Your job is just to sell the house.
And this isn't going to damage anyone's house, but I know a lot of us try to mean well by, mowing people's lawns and
Oh
shoveling
God.
snow and stuff like go shovel out the listing. We did have one where on closing day we went and did the final walkthrough, and there was a snowstorm like today, and it was piled up with snow. I mean, it was 2 feet of snow on the ground. This is a few years ago, and I shoveled them out just so they could move in. Of course, we all will be the good Samaritan, and I'm not saying just be a jerk about it, but I would not make it part of your general business practice to maintain people's listings, to agree to shovel their snow, or I'll go over and mow the lawn or stuff like that. Realtors are doing that, and it kind of sets us all up for being expected to do that too. And it's not our job. We shouldn't be maintaining anyone's property, both for liability and just because it's such a waste of our time.
Well, I
There's
have a
sellers have to take responsibility for their own stuff.
here's another quick thing. Very, very quick story. Another realtor tried to be the good Samaritan and had the neighbor call up the broker and complain that the snow was dumped on their property.
Oh, geez. Yeah, yeah.
Be very careful. Seriously, guys. It's getting crazy out there, and we live in a country where lawsuits are very easy. No matter how frivolous, it's your time, and ultimately you need to ask yourself, do you respect yourself as a realtor? Period. There's
The
something about
photography,
there's something about being a servant leader and just playing the fool.
the photography thing is unbelievable. I think most of us joke about, who I know about. You see these listing photos that were taken with a phone, and it's so bad. It represents the seller so poorly. I don't even know if we need to spend too much time on this. It's so inexpensive to have professional photos done, and for the time it would take you to do it, even doing a bad job of it with your phone, it doesn't make sense. Now I shoot videos myself. We also have a videographer who does it. I'm good at it. I have an art direction and advertising background, so I know how to do a good job of it. And I don't do it when we're really busy, so I can kind of push and pull that one if I need to, the video shoot. But if you can get somebody else to do it, that too, I would recommend it. I feel kind of strongly about measurements. I know a lot of us measure houses, and I think it's one thing to go over with a laser or a measuring tape, and if there's a room or two that we just need to check, yeah, of course, that's fine. But one thing that we do is we always insist, if the seller does not have good measurements, we always insist that they have it professionally measured and that they pay for it. Not because I'm a cheapskate, because they pay for lots of other stuff, but because they really need to own the measurements. And again, it's a liability thing. You don't want to be holding the invoice for the measuring company. And you don't want to be asking the seller to just do it themselves. And when people say, "Oh, I'll just do it myself," to the sellers, it's $150, and it's like a little bit of an insurance policy that you've got it done correctly.
Yep.
So I was even told when I got into real estate, go and buy a 40-foot tape measure because you're going to need it to buy houses. I had that on good authority, and I went to Home Depot and I spent a lot of money on an expensive tape measure. I'm not making that up. Never used it once.
So yet, but there are, in fact, I don't just have one story. There are so many stories out there where after closing, buyers have found the measurements to be slightly off, and then they try to get, because you can still go to that arbitration court, right, before a lawsuit or whatever. They try to get the sellers for the measurements being slightly off, and the seller's like, well, I didn't measure the house, my realtor did. Guess who gets the call? Your broker. And you're the one holding the invoice. And if you've paid, now if you've done the measurements, oh my gosh. Secondly, if you've paid a professional to come and do that, and the professional has screwed up again, oh my God. It's all is on you as a realtor. It's very, very critical that you build professional boundaries for yourself and for what you, and how you portray yourself.
Driving buyers around, I know plenty of us do this, and again, I don't mean any disrespect. It's fun as a buyer to go out with your realtor. I get so much done in the car and showings. I could be returning calls, I could be listening to an audiobook, I could be texting. I'm just kidding. But um, but I think the idea of picking buyers up for a tour and taking them out, it's inefficient, and I I wouldn't advise new realtors to start that way. That's my opinion. People might disagree with me. Um, we only have a few minutes, so I want to get through a few other things here. Here are a lot of common things that we can do, that we do, that can totally be leveraged. That's not part of your job description as a realtor. Um, any sort of transaction coordination. We have so many options for this. There are TC people at the brokerage. You can hire somebody. Um, there's ways to get that done. There are TC companies. It's worth it. It's totally not something that we have to do at all. Routing the files to the title company and lender and all that kind of thing. It doesn't seem like it takes time at the beginning, but when keeping track of all those pieces, especially when you have multiple transactions, you'll start forgetting things. You'll start waking up at night saying, "Oh my God, I didn't send the amendment to to the lender, and they're not going to order the appraisal now," or whatever. This can be leveraged. All paperwork can be leveraged. There's nothing in the realtor's code of ethics or the DOC or any sort of job description that says we have to physically write a purchase agreement or listing docs or any of that. And our team, we have that all put together by our TC team. There really isn't. Sherilyn famously has never written a purchase agreement personally, and she's done hundreds of deals. And I know other high producing realtors who have never done it either, or very little.
Just
Any
to
sort
quickly,
of
Bob,
yeah.
the reason being, and I want everyone to know this, the reason being when we started out at our first brokerage, which is KW Lakes, one of my favorite places, the advice again given by my productivity coach was, because we started out, Andrew and I started out together. She just said, we have KW has just one system, and it didn't make sense to have two separate logins to go in and write a purchase agreement. So the decision was made to just give Andrew the login and me to not touch purchase agreements, etc. That being said, can I write one? Yes, I can absolutely handwrite one if you can give me. See? Jen, I know you're watching me.
Any sort of office stuff, administrative kind of things, you can get somebody to do these sort of things for you, helping you sort out your email, keeping on top of your calendar, officey kind of activities. That's shouldn't be too hard to find somebody, even part-time, if you need a little extra help. Alyssa, you're so good at writing notes, and I cannot stand writing handwritten notes. So Alyssa graciously and wonderfully has been helping us with like writing out cards for the better part of a year, and or I think a year now, and it's greatly appreciated. So if you don't have good handwriting, or you cannot stand writing notes, but you like the idea of it, you like the sentiment of it, find somebody who's got that talent. They're out there. Marketing.
Alyssa has better handwriting than me. If I write, it's like illegible.
You can get somebody to help you with marketing activities, putting together social media graphics and things like that. And some of that can be automated too. Any tech software stuff, there should be either somebody at the brokerage or somebody who can help you with that kind of thing. If you're feeling bogged down with using CRMs or things like that, you need to get somebody to help you. Showings. you don't have to show all the property. This is something that had to sink in with me. You can get somebody to help you show for $25 an hour or something like that. There will be somebody, a newer agent, who needs the showing experience. And there's absolutely no reason that you have to show every single house. If you feel strongly that you need to see the house when they're making an offer, you can always go over and see it. Book an agent preview and go see it when you're making an offer too. But showings is a huge thing that can be leveraged and get you back a lot of the time. Some of the lead follow-up and nurturing can be automated. That's why we've got smart plans and drips and things like that. There's a lot of this that can be automated, but what you can't automate is the personal touches of reaching out to people when they're really hearing from you. That's something you want to be on top of. Leverage options. You can join a team, a good team that has good systems in place. You can get just a little bit of part-time help. Like I was talking about some of the administrative activities. Those people are, I don't want to say good people are easy to find. They're not, but you can find somebody with basic administrative skills who could help you part-time with a few things. You could use a transaction coordinating service like our friend Alex, or there might be somebody at the office who does it. Like we have somebody at KW Premier who does that and does a great job. If you're ready for kind of next level, you can hire somebody like Nora, who's either a full-time admin or really an operations director, somebody talented with really good skills in all this stuff. And that will cost you, but it will not cost you because it allows you to focus again on the things where the money's made. There's a lot of non-real estate leverage that we shouldn't miss too. Is it worth it to get your house cleaned, to have your I'm not out shoveling snow. I'm teaching this class. This is way more valuable to me. We've got a plowing service. They come and do it. I won't touch the stuff. I'd probably hurt my back anyway. Grocery deliveries. If you don't like to cook, can somebody do a few meals for you? We have some Indian connections, and they make trays of goat curry and stuff like that. Sherilyn buys it. She likes to cook, but now we can buy that for whatever, $50 or something like that, and then we've got several meals. It's nice. Lots of things like that. And I'm just going to make the point too, there's probably somebody in your neighborhood, maybe a college kid or somebody who needs a little extra help. You could get everything, and I know people who have everything in their life leveraged. The meals, laundry, folding, whatever. That's too extreme for me. I need to get up and do things or I go nuts, even if it's mundane activities. But ask yourself, if there's something that's taking too much of your time, why are you doing it? And you don't like doing it and it's wasting your time, get somebody else to do it. You're going to see the money come back. This is a parting thought and then I'm done. Should you leverage out social media? Because we get this all the time, and Sherilyn and I did try to do a little of that early on. I found it to be a huge mistake. Social media is all based on you being you, and it knows, the algorithms know when it's cookie cutter content or when it's boring, and you don't get engagement. So I didn't add it to the list of the 4 things, but I don't think any of us should be leveraging out social media content. Not to say you can't get some help with it. Like Carl on our team is our marketing guy, and he helps us with graphics. He has post ideas too. He helps keep everything consistent. So if you need somebody to help you keep it consistent so that you're not upsy downsy all the time, then that's the way to do it. But you can't just write somebody a check and say, do all my social media. I don't want to touch it. That's it. That's my list. Lead gen, follow-up appointments, and negotiating.